I was staring at the woman who gave birth to me, trying to find any resemblance to the face I'd seen in my nightmares for 27 years. She sat across from me in my office, her hair dyed a carefully maintained blonde that couldn't quite hide the gray, dressed in expensive clothes that seemed calculated to impress. Her name was Patricia Collins, but I hadn't called her Mom since the night she left me at Fire Station 23, with nothing but a teddy bear and a note that said, "I'm sorry." "Emma," she said, reaching across my desk as if to touch my hand. I pulled back instinctively. "You've grown into such a beautiful woman. I knew you would." "Did you?" I kept my voice neutral, the way my adoptive mom had taught me to handle difficult business negotiations. "That's interesting, considering you haven't seen me since I was 3. Patricia's carefully made-up face crumpled slightly. "I know I made mistakes, terrible ones. But I was young, struggling with addiction. I know. The firefighters found traces of cocaine in my system when they took me to the hospital." I watched her flinch. Fortunately, my real mom made sure I got the therapy I needed to deal with that trauma. "Your real mom," she repeated, a hint of bitterness creeping into her tone. "You mean Catherine Bennett, the woman who adopted you?" "Yes, a woman who raised me, loved me, and made me her heir." I saw the flash in Patricia's eyes at that last word. There it was, the real reason for this sudden maternal reunion. About that, Patricia shifted in her chair, her designer purse clutched tightly. "I heard about Catherine's passing last month. I'm so sorry for your loss." I waited. The silence stretched uncomfortably until she continued. "I also heard about the inheritance. $12 million is quite a sum. 13.4, actually," I corrected. "The tech company shares appreciated since the initial valuation." Patricia's eyes widened slightly. "Even more reason why we should discuss this as family." I thought about the letter in my safe, the one my mom, my real mom, had left me along with the inheritance. "Why are you here, Patricia?" She dropped the pretense. "I'm dying, Emma. Stage 4 pancreatic cancer. The treatments are experimental, expensive. Insurance won't cover them." When I heard about Catherine's passing and the inheritance, I thought, well, blood is thicker than water. "Interesting choice of words," I said, opening my laptop, "because I have something you should see." I turned the screen to show her a document dated 25 years ago. Her face went pale as she recognized her own signature. "Where did you get that?" "Mom kept everything, including the legal agreement you signed, surrendering all parental rights in exchange for $50,000. Patricia's hands trembled. I was desperate then, addicted. "They took advantage?" I raised an eyebrow. "You mean my parents? The ones who paid for your rehab even after you signed away your rights? The ones who set up a trust for you that you drained in 6 months? How do you?" "Mom told me everything before she died. She wanted me to understand exactly who you were when you eventually showed up for the money. She knew you would." Patricia's facade cracked. "I'm dying, Emma. Don't I deserve a chance to make things right? To have some comfort in my final months?" I thought about the security footage from 3 years ago, when Patricia tried to break into our house during Mom's first cancer battle. About the threats she made when she discovered she wasn't in the will. About the restraining order Mom had been forced to take out. "The funny thing about deserving," I said quietly, "is that it usually has something to do with our actions. What exactly do you think you deserve from me? I gave birth to you, and then you left me at a fire station with cocaine in my system. What happened after that? Did you look for me? Try to get clean? fight to be part of my life. She looked away. I wasn't ready then. But you're ready now. When I have millions. I pulled out another document. This is from 2 years ago. You tried to contest Mom's will before she even died. Claimed she was mentally incompetent. I was worried about you. You were worried about the money. Just like when you showed up at her cancer treatments claiming to be my birth mother. Just like when you tried to break into our house. Patricia's face hardened. I have rights. Blood rights. No court will deny a dying mother. Actually, I interrupted. Every court will. Because Mom made sure of it. I showed her the final document. Her complete surrender of all parental and inheritance rights. Signed and notarized twice. Once when I was adopted, and again when she tried to contest it 10 years later. You bitch, she whispered. Mask completely gone now. You ungrateful, heartless bitch. I carried you for 9 months. And then you shot up with me in your arms for 3 years before dumping me like trash. I kept my voice level. The difference between you and Mom. She carried me in her heart for 27 years. She stayed up with me through the night, terrors your abandonment caused. She helped me through therapy, through the panic attacks, through every moment when I wondered why my own mother didn't want me. I want you now. No, you want my money. There's a difference. I opened my desk drawer and pulled out an old, worn teddy bear. Her eyes fixed on it immediately. You kept it? Mom kept it, to remind me that even in your worst moment, some small part of you tried to give me comfort. She wanted me to understand that addiction is a disease, that you were sick, not evil. I set the bear on the desk between us. She also kept it as evidence, in case you ever tried to claim you were coerced into giving me up. Patricia stared at the bear, her carefully maintained composure crumbling. I really am dying, Emma. The doctors give me 6 months at most. I know. Mom's lawyers verified your medical records when you tried to use them to contest the will last month. Then you know I need help. Real help. Not just money. I need family. For a moment, I saw the woman she might have been. Without the addiction, without the manipulation. But then I remembered Mom's words from her final letter. Love can heal many wounds, but it can't heal someone who sees it only as a tool for manipulation. I'm going to make you an offer, I said, pulling out one final document. The same one Mom made you 15 years ago, when you first got clean. A trust fund that will cover all your medical expenses, managed by independent trustees. Enough for comfort and care, but not enough to feed the other addictions I know you're still fighting. Her eyes narrowed. How much? 2 million in a restricted medical trust. Every treatment, every medication, every comfort care need covered, but not a cent in cash. That's insulting. I'm your mother. No, I said softly. You're the woman who gave birth to me. Catherine Bennett was my mother, and she taught me that real love sometimes means setting boundaries. Patricia stood, her designer purse clutched like a shield. You'll regret this. When I'm gone, you'll wish you'd taken the chance to know your real mother. I knew my real mother. She died last month holding my hand, secure in the knowledge that I understood the difference between love and manipulation. As she stormed toward the door, I added, the offer stands for 72 hours. After that, it drops to 1 million. Choose wisely. She paused, hand on the doorknob. You're just like her, you know. Catherine. Cold. Calculating. Thank you, I smiled. That's the nicest thing you could have said to me. After she left, I picked up the teddy bear, thinking about the little girl I'd been, waiting years for a mother who never came back. about the woman who had chosen me, loved me, protected me, even after death. My phone buzzed, a text from Patricia. I'll take the 2 million. But this isn't over. I thought about Mom's letter, safely locked away in my safe. She'll come back when I'm gone, sweetheart. Remember that protecting yourself from manipulation isn't cruel. It's necessary. I chose you every day of my life. Make sure anyone who claims to love you does the same. I texted back one word, done. Sometimes the family we choose proves stronger than the family we're born into. Sometimes the hardest part of growing up is accepting that not everyone who should love us is capable of it. And sometimes the best inheritance isn't money at all. It's the wisdom to know the difference between love and manipulation. 2 weeks after Patricia's visit, the medical trust was established and running smoothly. Too smoothly. My mother's voice echoed in my head. When manipulators go quiet, they're planning something. I was right to be suspicious. The email arrived on a Tuesday morning. Exclusive. Millionaire Harris denies dying mother basic care. Attached was a link to a local news blog, complete with carefully edited photos of Patricia looking frail in a hospital bed. Ms. Collins claims her biological daughter, Emma Bennett, inherited over $13 million, but offered her dying mother only $2 million for medical care. The article read, sources close to the family suggest this represents less than 15% of the total inheritance. I was already dialing my lawyer when my assistant rushed in. Emma, you need to see this. Patricia had gone viral. Her tearful hospital bed video was trending. My own daughter, my flesh and blood, restricting my care like I'm some charity case. The comments were exactly what she'd hoped for. What kind of daughter does this? Only $2 million out of $13 million? Heartless. Blood is blood. She owes her mother better. My phone rang. Dad, my adoptive father. I see she's playing her cards early. Mom called it. I sighed. She said Patricia would try public pressure when private manipulation failed. Check your email. I'm sending you something Catherine wanted you to have if this happened. The email contained a video file dated 3 years ago. Mom, already thin from her first round of cancer treatments, sat in her study. Emma, sweetheart, if you're watching this, Patricia has gone public with her manipulation. Remember when she tried the same thing during my first diagnosis? The press conference about the cruel adoptive mother keeping a birth mother from her child. I remembered. Patricia had stationed herself outside Mom's cancer center, telling reporters how she'd been forced to give me up, how Mom had stolen her child. What the public doesn't know, Mom continued, is that every time Patricia got clean, we reached out. Every time she claimed to want a relationship, we offered counseling, support, supervised visits. And every time, she chose drugs over showing up. The video ended with Mom holding up a thick folder. All the documentation is in my study safe. The missed visits, the rehab reports, the police records. Use them if you need to, but remember, you don't owe anyone your story. You don't owe anyone your peace. I was still staring at the screen when my lawyer called. Emma, there's more. Patricia started a GoFundMe claiming you're restricting her access to experimental treatments. She's raised $50,000 already. How much of that will go to actual medical care? Given her recent credit card statements, probably none. She's already booked a suite at the Four Seasons. I thought about Mom's words. You don't owe anyone your story. But maybe, just maybe, the truth owed itself. I opened my laptop and began to type. Dear Patricia, I see you've chosen public manipulation over private healing, so let's be public. The $2 million medical trust offers more comprehensive care than your GoFundMe ever could. Every treatment, every medication, every comfort measure covered. What it doesn't cover are the 5-star hotels you've been booking, or the designer shopping sprees, or the casino visits your credit report shows. You have 24 hours to retract your story and return the GoFundMe money. After that, I release everything: the addiction records, the abandonment documentation, the security footage of your break-in attempts. Your choice. Again, Emma. Within an hour, Patricia's lawyer called. Ms. Bennett, my client feels personally attacked. Your client is committing fraud, I interrupted. The GoFundMe claims she needs money for treatments that are already fully covered by the trust. That's wire fraud across state lines. Silence. Then, what are your terms? She returns every cent from the GoFundMe. She retracts her story, and she sticks to the original trust agreement, medical care only. Or I stop protecting her from the consequences of her actions. Every record, every document, every video, including the security footage of her trying to break into Mom's house during cancer treatments. More silence. I'll speak with my client. An hour later, Patricia's social media posts disappeared. The GoFundMe was canceled. Donations were refunded. The news blog posted a retraction. My phone buzzed with a text from an unknown number. You really are Catherine's daughter. Cold as ice. I texted back. No, I learned boundaries from her. There's a difference. Dad called again. You okay, kiddo? Did I do the right thing? Mom always protected Patricia's privacy, even when she was attacking us. Your mother protected you, not Patricia. She kept things private to give you space to heal, not to shield Patricia from consequences. I looked at the teddy bear still sitting on my desk. I keep waiting to feel guilty. About setting boundaries. Catherine would be proud. You know what she told me before she died? Emma's strongest quality isn't her intelligence or her success. It's her ability to love without letting herself be destroyed by those who see love as a weapon. My assistant buzzed in. Emma, there's a delivery for you. A large envelope sat on my desk. Inside was a stack of photos. Me as a baby, Patricia holding me, looking young and happy. A note fell out. These are the only real things I have left. The only times I was truly your mother, before the drugs took everything. I'm sorry I chose them over you. I'm sorry I'm still choosing manipulation over truth. The trust is more than I deserve. Thank you for not letting me destroy myself with more. Patricia. For the first time, her words felt real, not calculated, not manipulative, just true. I picked up my phone and called the trust administrator. Please add mental health counseling to the approved treatments. Full coverage. Of course, Ms. Bennett. Should I inform Ms. Collins? No, I said, looking at the photos. Let her choose it herself. Real healing has to be a choice. That night, I dreamed of two mothers, one who chose me every day, and one who couldn't choose me over her demons. In the dream, Mom held me while I finally let go of waiting for Patricia to become someone she couldn't be. Sometimes, love means maintaining boundaries. Sometimes, forgiveness means accepting people as they are, not as we wish they could be. And sometimes, the greatest inheritance is the strength to know the difference. A month after the GoFundMe incident, I received an unexpected call from Patricia's oncologist, Dr. Sarah Martinez. Ms. Bennett, your mother, Ms. Collins, has begun refusing treatments. She's requesting to speak with you. Is this another manipulation? I asked directly. There was a pause. I'm aware of your history, but her cancer has progressed significantly. The conversations she's requesting, they're the kind patients typically want when they're preparing for the end. I thought about Mom's final days, how every moment felt precious, even the hard ones. I'll come, but I'm bringing my father. At the hospital, Patricia looked nothing like the polished manipulator who'd sat in my office. Cancer had stripped away the designer clothes and careful makeup, leaving behind a fragile woman who appeared far older than her 50 years. Emma, she whispered, reaching out a thin hand. This time, I didn't pull away. Thank you for coming. Dad stood quietly by the door, a solid presence guarding my boundaries even as I lowered them slightly. Dr. Martinez says you're refusing treatment, I said. It's not working anyway. Her laugh turned into a cough. All it's doing is buying a few more weeks to think about my mistakes. I sat in the chair beside her bed. Is that what you wanted to talk about? Partly. She gestured weakly to a bag beside her bed. Could you? Inside was a worn photo album and a bundle of letters, still in their original envelopes. I recognized Mom's handwriting on them. Catherine wrote to me every year on your birthday, Patricia said, telling me how you were doing, sending photos. Even when I was at my worst, even when I tried to hurt her, she never stopped. I opened the first letter, dated a year after my adoption. Dear Patricia, Emma took her first steps today. She's strong, determined, just like you were before the addiction took hold. I'm keeping my promise to tell her about you. Not the mistakes or the pain, but the moments of love I saw when you handed her to me and said, please give her what I can't. Catherine. I never responded, Patricia whispered, but I kept every letter. They were the only thing I never sold for drugs. Dad moved closer, his expression softening slightly. Catherine believed everyone deserves to know they're not forgotten. She was a better mother than I could ever be, Patricia admitted. That's why I hated her sometimes. She did everything right, everything I should have done. I opened the photo album. The first page showed Patricia holding me as a newborn, her smile genuine, her eyes clear. You were clean when you had me. For the whole pregnancy and the first 6 months. Then, she closed her eyes. One bad night, one bad choice, the spiral started. By the time you were 3, I couldn't keep you safe from myself. The fire station, I said quietly. I knew they'd find you quickly, that they'd get you somewhere safe. Her hands twisted the hospital blanket. Catherine and James were the answer to my prayers, even though I hated them for being what I couldn't. Dad spoke up. You did one right thing. You gave her a chance at life. And then spent 27 years doing wrong things, Patricia added bitterly. Even now, with the trust, I've been using the mental health coverage. The therapist says I'm still trying to manipulate, still trying to control. Are you? She met my eyes. Yes, even dying. I can't seem to stop, but I'm trying. That's why I'm stopping treatment. Because you're trying to manipulate me with guilt? The words came out sharper than I intended. No, she said softly, because I don't want my last act to be taking resources you could use for something better. The trust, it's too generous. I don't deserve it. For the first time, I heard real honesty in her voice. Not calculation, not manipulation, just truth. The trust stays, I said firmly. Mom set it up this way for a reason. She believed in healing, even when it seemed impossible. Patricia's eyes filled with tears. She sent me to rehab 4 times, you know. Paid for it herself. I failed every time, but she kept trying. when she got sick, I convinced myself she poisoned you against me. It was easier than admitting I'd poisoned myself against everything good. Dad pulled out his phone, showing a video I'd never seen. Mom, in her final weeks, recording a message. Patricia, if you're seeing this, Emma has chosen to share it. I need you to know something. Every year on Emma's birthday, I lit 2 candles. One for the daughter who made me a mother, and one for the mother who trusted me with her greatest gift. Your addiction stole many things, but it never stole this truth. You loved Emma enough to let her go. Remember that love. It's the one pure thing addiction couldn't corrupt. Catherine. Patricia was openly crying now. I didn't deserve her kindness. Maybe not, I said, but she gave it anyway, just like she gave me the strength to offer you the trust, even knowing you might misuse it. I won't, she whispered. Not anymore. The therapist. She's helping me see things clearly for the first time. I don't have much time left, but I want to use it right. She pulled out one final envelope from under her pillow. I signed papers giving up any claim to contest the inheritance after I'm gone. Not that they'd work anyway, but I wanted you to know I understand now. The money was never the point. What was the point? Learning that love isn't ownership. Catherine tried to teach me that all those years. With every letter, every chance she gave me, I was too blind to see it. Dad cleared his throat. Catherine also believed it's never too late to learn the right lessons. Patricia looked at me. I know I have no right to ask anything of you. But would you visit sometimes? Not out of obligation. Not because I'm dying. Just to talk. To maybe understand each other a little before the end. I thought about Mom's last letter to me. Love isn't always safe, sweetheart. Sometimes it means risking pain to grow something beautiful. Just make sure the risk is yours to choose. I'll come, I said, once a week. We can talk about the photos, the letters, about who you were before and who Mom saw when she wrote to you all those years. I'd like that, she whispered, exhaustion clear in her voice. As we left the hospital, Dad squeezed my shoulder. You okay? I think so. It feels different this time. Real. Catherine would be proud. Not because you forgave, but because you chose to risk understanding. That night, I read through all of Mom's letters to Patricia. 27 years of updates, invitations, and open doors. 27 years of choosing love over bitterness. In her final letter, written just weeks before she died, Mom had written, Patricia, Emma has grown into everything we both hoped she'd be. Strong, compassionate, wise enough to set boundaries, but brave enough to open doors. When I'm gone, she'll face choices about how to handle your inevitable return. Trust her choices. She learned from both of us, from your sacrifice in letting her go, and from my choice to help her grow. The money isn't her only inheritance. She also inherited 2 mothers' worth of love, even if one of us took longer to show it right. Catherine, sometimes healing comes in unexpected moments. Sometimes the greatest act of love is learning to see truth clearly, even when it hurts. And sometimes 3 candles need to burn, one for the mother who chose me, one for the mother who let me go, and one for the daughter learning to hold both truths in her heart. Patricia died on a Tuesday morning, 3 months after our hospital conversation. She spent her final weeks attending therapy, documenting her story for addiction awareness programs, and sharing quiet moments with me over old photographs and memories. The last time I saw her conscious, she held my hand and said something that changed everything. I found the letter you wrote me when you were 10. Catherine didn't send that one. I remembered that letter, angry words scrawled in a child's handwriting, demanding to know why she didn't want me. I'd written it during a particularly difficult therapy session, but I'd never sent it. It was in Catherine's study safe. Patricia continued weakly. Along with every drawing, every angry poem, every hurt thought you ever wrote about me. She kept them all, protecting both of us. You from feeling guilty about your anger, and me from facing it until I was ready. Mom had known someday we'd need those words, those raw emotions preserved in time. The day after Patricia died, her therapist, Dr. Wilson, asked to meet with me. She handed me a sealed envelope. Patricia worked on this for weeks. She wanted you to have it after she was gone. Inside was a journal and a letter. Dear Emma, I'm writing this between morphine doses, trying to maintain clarity for these final words. The journal contains the whole truth. Every manipulation, every scheme, every moment of jealousy toward Catherine. But it also contains something else. The story of how your adoptive mother taught me what real motherhood means, even though I couldn't embrace the lesson for so many years. Catherine wrote to me about your first day of school, your first heartbreak, your college graduation. She invited me to every important moment, even when I responded with threats or manipulation. She kept offering love when I only offered pain. The trust fund you provided gave me more than medical care. It gave me dignity in my final months. The boundaries you set taught me more about love than any enabler ever did. You are your mother's daughter, not because you share my blood, but because you learned Catherine's greatest gift, the ability to offer compassion without compromising truth. The journal is yours to read, burn, or share. Consider it my final attempt at honest motherhood, too late to matter, perhaps, but genuine at last. I love you, not as a possession to be claimed, but as the remarkable woman you've become. Patricia. The journal revealed everything, her early attempts to stay clean, her spiral into addiction, her complex feelings about Mom. The final entries showed a woman finally facing her demons without excuses. A week after the funeral, Dad helped me sort through Patricia's belongings at the hospice facility. Among them, we found a stack of unsent responses to Mom's yearly letters, each one written during brief periods of clarity over the decades. One particular response, dated during my college years, stood out. Dear Catherine, I saw Emma on campus today. She didn't see me. I made sure of that. She was laughing with friends, so confident, so free. Everything I couldn't give her. I wanted to approach her, to claim some part of her joy as my doing. But for the first time, I realized her joy exists because I let her go, because you taught her love doesn't need ownership to be real. Thank you for sending the photos every year. Thank you for keeping the door open even when I tried to break it down. Patricia, never sent like all the others. Some truths take decades to admit. Dad read it over my shoulder. Catherine knew, he said quietly. She saw Patricia watching you sometimes. She could have stopped it, exposed her. Instead, she just kept sending those letters. Teaching by example, I realized. Showing Patricia what real love looks like, year after year. We donated Patricia's clothes to a women's recovery center. Her journal, with her permission, went to an addiction research program. The photos and letters we kept, preserving the complex truth of 3 women's intertwined lives. The inheritance remained untouched. All $13 million, minus the medical trust that had given Patricia dignity in her final months. But the real inheritance wasn't in any bank account. It was in Mom's letters, teaching love and boundaries across decades. It was in Patricia's final honesty, choosing truth over manipulation at last. It was in my own heart, learning to hold both the pain and the healing of two mothers' journeys. Yesterday, I started a scholarship fund at the local recovery center, the Catherine Bennett Second Chances program, providing mental health support for mothers battling addiction. The first recipient was a young woman with a 3-year-old daughter, fighting to keep her family whole. On the scholarship certificate, we printed Mom's words from one of her letters to Patricia. Love is not ownership. Motherhood is not possession. Both are choices we make every day, to give, to grow, to let go when needed, and to keep the door open for healing. Sometimes the greatest inheritance isn't what we receive, but what we learn to give. Sometimes the strongest love grows in the spaces between loss and healing. And sometimes it takes 3 hearts to write one story of redemption.